Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapclis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow. Yo, what's happening, my friend? Welcome to the Just Grow podcast. So glad to have you here. My name is Nico Rapclis. If you are new around these parts, I am the host of Just Grow. And on this episode, we had on Maggie Mae. We had an incredible conversation. She's a personal coach that helps people with manifestation, with confidence, and just truly stepping in the most powerful version of yourself so that you can create that reality that you truly desire. We had an incredible conversation. She talked about this pretty interesting concept on how she really shifted her energy, which allowed her to grow her social media following significantly. And then we tapped into all sorts of different things, like really the inner works of the energetics to really create your reality and a bunch more. So you're not going to want to miss a single second of this episode. Before we do jump in, I want to let you know about our school community as well as our live podcast events. We have our next live podcast event that's actually going to be a half EDM yoga, half live podcast. It's limited to just 20 people. We have, I think, about 8 tickets left. That'll be on the 21st. You can go to justgrowpodcast.com if you want to learn more about that. And if you want to join our magnetic manifesting school community, have over 600 members in there. And it's a really powerful group where we go live every single week. You get to connect with other visionaries, entrepreneurs. So head on over there. All the links will be down in the video description and the show notes. But appreciate you being here. And let's jump in this interview with Maggie Mae. Thank you for being on the podcast, Maggie. Really grateful for you, man. We're really grateful for you. And yeah, when we dive in, let's talk about some manifestation. I want to hear a little bit about your story on how you got into the world of manifestation and entrepreneurship and personal development.
Yeah, definitely. So you want me to start like with the beginning of when it all started?
Yeah, give us a little glimpse into like who you are, how you became where you are now.
Yeah. So I actually, back in 2020, I would say, I was going through a really difficult breakup, and I felt like my whole world around me was kind of shattering, and I wasn't feeling my best. And so what I did was I really recognized that I didn't really love myself as much as I thought I did. I didn't have as much confidence as I thought I did. So I dove deep into the personal development world. And this is when I started getting into like spirituality and manifestation and just all things self-improvement. And so I was reading tons of books. I was on TikTok constantly, but my For You page was like everything about going through breakups and stuff. Okay. And I just realized that when you do the internal work and you actually work on yourself, that confidence, that self-love, it's like a magnet to things around you. And when you work on the internal world, your external reality starts mirroring how you feel about yourself on the inside. So that's kind of when manifestation really started coming up for me. And what I noticed was, as I was working on myself and like changing even the language that I was using, changing my thoughts from like negative self-talk and negative ways of viewing myself to really shifting it into positive ways of viewing myself, I started attracting in better relationships with people. I attracted a romantic relationship at the time. I didn't end up going through with this career, but I think I told you when we first spoke, I loved working with the elderly, and my dream at one point was to own my own assisted living home. Yeah. So I ended up getting a job in an assisted living home, and that at the time was like a dream for me. And so what I noticed is as I was working on myself, all of these things started to come into my life. And it wasn't just a coincidence. It was the synchronicity of when I start feeling good about who I am, when I start loving myself and feeling good about my capabilities, that's when everything just started to flow. Better friendships, better relationships, the career. I ended up starting my own business. So that's kind of a little rundown on my story and how things really started to come into my life. And I've been obsessed with it ever since, as I feel like a lot of people who dive into self-improvement get.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing all that.
Of
That
course.
was that's cool. I mean, and it's so interesting how we get into this stuff, right? I notice it all the time, and it's a part of my story as well. Is it usually comes from some sort of pain, and one of the biggest pain points that I've experienced and other people have experienced is breakups, and so they're challenging at the time, but sometimes they're just the most beautiful thing that because they propel you in a new direction, and if it wasn't for that pain, you never would have gone that direction. And then the other thing that I really pull from your story is that just the internal is just the external is just a reflection of what's going on internally. And I think it's pretty interesting too because I truly believe this that your Instagram algorithm or what other platform, what other algorithm, whatever platform that you're using, it's it's a manifestation, right? And we talk about that a lot, how it's like a three-step process. It's plant the seeds, nurture the seeds, and let the seeds sprout, right? That's how manifestation works. And it's the same with on Instagram and the algorithm, because once you plant those seeds, meaning you like engage in stuff and you continue to engage in stuff, i.e. nurture, then that's where your algorithm starts to be created. So it always starts from that little seed, right?
Yeah. I love that. And I also, I want to make a comment about that too, is speaking of Instagram, the algorithm, what I noticed is even last year, I think it was around last summer, like last February into the summer, I was sitting at about 3,000 followers for the longest time, and nothing was growing, nothing was working. And then I went to a business retreat in Colombia in December where we did so much stuff. Like, yes, we talked about business, but it was a lot of working with energetics and meditation and breath work and visualization. And I stepped into a version of myself that I started to really feel this belief in myself and the capabilities. And when I got back from Colombia, I shot right up to 32,000 followers.
Wow.
And it was like the quickest thing ever. It was insane. And I believe that it's because I changed how I felt about myself, how I was able to show up, and I worked on that, and the algorithm followed me with it.
Exactly. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. And it's interesting how we can have these internal blocks, these energetic blocks. And there's different modalities on how to release them. As you mentioned, you went to a retreat out in, you said Colombia?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, and I've heard those stories a lot where you go to these type of retreats and you're able to energetically release these type of things. And then the algorithm just like it's just like everything is
Yep.
energy, right? Everything is energy. And once you start realizing that, you realize how powerful it is, and then you can't really ever go back. But like our heart space is the most powerful magnetic organ in our body. And once we clear that up and clear the blocks from our heart, that's when everything can pour in. I've had friends that, and there's even, one of my mentors, she always talks about how with growing on Instagram, one of the most important things right away is to declutter all the energy that's not serving you. Meaning, it's you don't want to you want to be following a bunch of people that you're not energetically connected to, or you want to energetically disconnect from. And until you do that, you won't truly like grow to where you want to go. So it's really interesting that you brought that
Yeah.
up.
I agree with you on like removing people who you're just not feeling it with the energy. I also hear people say, if you get rid of old clothing, like old clothing holds energy too, and things like that, which I thought was so interesting.
Mm. Yeah, I had a mentor that said, he asked me, "Do you have space for a miracle?" And I was like, "Ooh, that's a good one." 'Cause I mean, it's like, think about it, like physically, like if I have all these books in my hand, right, and you're like, "Hey, I have something really cool to give you," you're like, I got no room. I can't, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we let go of all the things that are not serving us and make room? Even I had a friend that always told me is like, if you want to attract in a relationship, like make room for them in your closet.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's real.
It
It's real.
is. I've even heard to the extent of, I think I read this in the book The Secret, and she talked about how she started sleeping on one side of the bed instead of in the middle
Mhm.
of the bed, in order to like act as if there was her partner with her on the other side. And eventually he came into her life and he was there on his side of the bed. And I just think that stuff is so cool.
Yeah, you gotta set up your life and become the person that you want to be before you actually become that person and have that life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the secret is that's a good one.
Oh, you got it right there. Yeah, I think I got it right here too.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite ones. Not, I'd say yeah, it's one of the top ones for sure, but it's one of the most like pivotal ones for me because it started me on this journey,
Mm-hmm.
right? One of the exercises in there too was talking about how you want to visualize a dollar bill and just like really feel that. And then, a few days later, I went to the mall and I found a $5 bill on the ground. And I was like, whoa, that's
Yeah.
cool. And it's interesting too, because like with those type of exercises, you don't have resistance. And that's one of the biggest things on what blocks people from their manifestations because of the fact that, they have resistance. Like, oh, there's no way that I can make $1 million. But if you're like, hey, I could just imagine a dollar bill, there's no resistance to that. And then that actually comes in.
Mm-hmm. And once you start seeing that reassurance that like little things are working, then you can start practicing with bigger things, and it's just like more reassurance for you that it works.
Yeah. So what would you say like, to someone that's just starting out in this world or wants to amplify their manifestations? What's kind of your first piece of advice?
I would say, and this is also the first thing I ever did when diving into self improvement in general, but I've come to realize that it has a lot to do with manifestation. I remember the first thing I did was I bought a journal and I called it my positivity journal. And at the end of each day, I would write down all the positives of that day. Even if it was like the shittiest day, I would say, oh, my morning coffee tasted good. Like something as simple as that. And what this does is it's training your brain to start seeing the good and seeing the positive in life, that you start attracting more positive. And people might say, like, how does that work on like a scientific level, you know? But really what it is I'm sure you know, but for those of you who don't know, the reticular activating system, that's something that is a part of your brain where you notice what you deem most important to you. So I think there's an example of like if you are about to buy a car and you're going to buy an Audi and you start noticing more Audis all over the road, and they were always there, but now your perspective has changed because you think of it as important to you. You're noticing more of it. So that's kind of what the positivity journaling does, is you start writing down all the positives. You're rewiring your brain to see more positives. And so what happens is you get on that frequency of this higher positive energy, you start attracting things that are on that same frequency of the things you desire. So it's not random. And I feel like this is probably the best way to describe manifestation and like the first place to start, because it's the easiest thing you can do is just get yourself on a higher frequency, get your brain thinking more positively, and you're going to start noticing more of that. And then it's going to keep like a domino effect, more opportunities, more people, more things are going to start flowing into your life.
Amen. I love that. That's definitely the vibe I've been on lately. Because we even talk about this in our school community, when we go live on Thursday evenings, and we talk about this whole concept of magnetic manifesting momentum. We actually just called it manifesting momentum. And it's not about going from, I think there's this misnomer in the manifestation space where people are like, oh, I want to go from where I am now, where I'm, struggling with my job or maybe just starting my business, to having a multi-million-dollar mansion, right? And so that would be like a 0 to 10 jump, right? But rather what we want to do is go from a 0 to 1, and it's a 1 to 2. And then they talk about this whole concept of quantum jumping, which then could be like a 2 to a 4 or a 4 to an 8, right? But it's about building up that momentum so you get in a good frequency, you're in a good energy, as we talked about. It's all an energy conversation. So it's like, how do you consistently raise your energy? And something that I do a lot, especially on our one-on-one calls with coaching clients, is I ask them at the beginning of the call, is that, how are you feeling? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? 7? Okay, cool. At the end of this call, I want you to be at an 8. Like that's our intention. And so I love what you said as well in terms of like the positivity journaling. I keep a monthly milestone list. Actually, a monthly milestone and belly laughing list.
Really?
So, because I mean, think about this. Just what you were saying. There's tons of studies that don't. Have you heard of the double slit test that Einstein
No.
did? Okay. So this just proves that where attention goes, energy flows, right? Just from a scientific level. So basically what they did is they shot a quantum particle at a door, at a wall that had two doors. And the particle actually split into two, into a wave, and went through both doors at the same time. So then what they did from there is they put someone that watched door number one. They shot the particle again, and the particle just went through door number one. Okay, they're like, okay, that's interesting. And then they moved the guy over to door two. They shot it again. The particle went through door number two. They removed the guy again. They shot it again. It went through both doors. So what that showed us from a neuroscientific level is that where attention goes, energy flows. And so it's just what you're saying. There's so much research back to what you're saying. It's not just like this woo stuff that, this manifestation space can get kind of a misnomer of. But it's like, if once you start focusing on that stuff, that's what's going to continue to perpetuate into your life. And so that's why I love the milestone list and the belly laughing list, because the more that you're laughing, the more that you're having a good time, the more you're doing things like, that's why I love doing these podcasts, because I'm at a higher vibration when I'm doing these podcasts.
Yep.
And the more consistent I do them, the better energy that I'm in, and therefore I attract more things to be grateful for, and things that are on a higher vibration. So it's so important, like for me and what we teach in our school community and our coaching programs, is have that monthly milestone list and keep track of that stuff, because then you go back to those things and it reminds you of like, oh yeah, I am doing good. Oh yeah, I had a great conversation. Oh yeah, I closed the client. Oh yeah, like all sorts of things. And you're like, wow, I've got this whole case to tell me that I'm doing amazing, rather than being like letting your emotions overtake you and being like, why?
I know, and you're not always conscious of the good things that are coming into your life unless you're actively writing them down or like taking the time to be present and see them. Otherwise, it just kind of goes, you go on automatic mode, and it just kind of, life passes you by and you don't even think about this stuff.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
Cool. So one of the biggest things that we always focus on is like really getting clear on what you want. And what I always like to say is like, rather than even just like what you want, but it's like, what do you desire? What's like your heart desire? What do you like really want to create? What do you tell people when they're asking that question?
Sorry, what was the question? When they want to get clarity and
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't have clarity.
Oh, I would say, well, something that I do within my coaching is I kind of give them this dream vision worksheet where we look at all the different areas of their life. Because as we know, without the clarity of knowing exactly what you want, you're not able to get there as effectively or efficiently. So I kind of take them through going through, okay, who do you want to be? Like, what does your character look like? What does your family life look like? What is your friendships, romantic relationships, spirituality, your fun, finances, and just kind of getting a clear picture of what every aspect of life looks like. And then understanding, okay, why do I want those things? Why do I want that vision? Because without having a clear you know how people talk about like, oh, this is my why for why I'm doing this thing. This is my why for why I have this business, or this is why I want to help people. Why do you want $10,000 this month? Why do you want 100 million, whatever?
Yeah.
And people think like, oh, I just want this, but they don't have that why. And the why is the feeling behind it, which is how we end up manifesting things. When you're so driven by the emotion, and if it's a positive emotion, it's just going to kind of get the ball rolling and make things come to you quicker. And then along with that, I know we talked about inspired action on our call. Understanding like, okay, what is the strategy? What am I going to commit to? What's the action that I can take in order to make that vision come to life? Because it's all about co-creation with the universe. I'm a very spiritual person, obviously, with manifestation, everything I'm doing. And I truly believe that when you take action, even if it's like the smallest bit of action, the universe is going to co-create with you and help bring that manifestation in with you. So that's why that's why understanding the vision, understanding why you want it, and then actually going forward and taking action is such a a strong formula for how to actually get clarity. And something that I've also recently added on to this is, how do I want to feel within this area of my life? Because we think, okay, this is what I want. It's all about your thoughts and your feelings create your reality. Mm-hmm. So when you think of, these are the thoughts, this is the vision, and then adding on how I want to feel, mm-hmm. It just, what is the word I'm looking for? It just, it speeds up the process.
Absolutely.
So that would be my way of helping people gain that clarity.
Oh man, I love all of that.
Thank you.
So good. Well, first I heard like you taking space and like sitting and actually thinking about what you do want. I think I've noticed this after working with some people, working with people, but also my journey, of course, is that the reason I didn't know what I wanted is ultimately because I just didn't give myself the space to even think about that. And I was having a conversation with a friend and I was like, why is that? Like myself, but also so many people, why do they not know what they want? And I think it's because everyone is just so distracted with life, right? No one takes time to just like sit and be. And I didn't for a long time. Now more so I do. I'm very intentional about spending time by myself. Like, there was a really pivotal time, and practically the reason I started this podcast, because I went to Utah by myself for a week and just sat in nature and just chilled and got to like let my thoughts flow and journal them out and get them out. But until we really give ourselves that space and actually think about what we want and why we want it and what's based on our values, then we'll never really know. And then we're just following based on what other people are telling us or what society says is valuable or what is important based on like what other people think. And I think that's also another reason on why people get so fixated on what do other people think, because they're not truly thinking, what do I want based on who I am, what my values are, and where I want to go and who I want to become.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. And people have such a vague understanding of what they want out of life, which is why they don't end up making it happen. And then you end up following other people. Like you're saying, you don't know what you want. So as a result, you become a follower. You think, oh, this person has this, maybe I want that. But you've never stopped to ask yourself, what do I actually want?
Yeah. And then the other two things that I pulled from what you were just saying is that, and I was speaking at an event the other night, and one of the other speakers said this, and I thought it was a really profound point. It was just a great reminder. I've heard this before, but it's just like it re-solidified for me, is that a lot of times the how is discovered through the action. Mm-hmm. So when we get clear on what we want, a lot of times we're like, how? Which I don't love that question at all, because it ultimately like throws resistance in. I think it's also how you ask the question, whether it's with a question mark or a period, like how, or like generally how.
Yeah, like curiosity.
Yeah, if there's curiosity around it, but I think the question that I really like a lot better right now is, instead of saying like, well, how can you do that? I say, well, how does that look and how does that feel? Like, I was doing a podcast last week with a guy, and he was like talking about the law of vibration. And then I was asking, well, how do you like implement that? And I caught myself right there, and I was like, instead of asking like, how do I implement that? I'm like, what does that look like? What does that feel like to implement? And I think that's a question that's really alive for me right now. And then on top of that, what you were saying, the last part is the feeling. So have you ever heard of the law of vibration?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so I believe it was Bob Proctor that really solidified, or at least that's where I heard this from. And he talks about how your life will ultimately be whatever your consistent, most dominant vibration is. Your consistent thoughts and your consistent vibration. And so we always talk about this as well. It's like your manifestations, the way that you actually create those, it's the metaphor is kind of like you're memorizing a song. And so until you memorize that song, you're not gonna like, okay, let's say like this. Let's say the song is you're making $50,000 a month in your business. That's the song that you want to memorize. And until you memorize that song, you won't be there. You'll be whatever song that you have currently memorized. Maybe you have a song that's only $10,000 a month, right? And that's the song that you have memorized, right? So it's about memorizing this new song. So how would you memorize a song? Would you memorize it a lyric at a time? Would you like just read the lyrics? Or would you just constantly immerse yourself in that new song? Would you just listen to it all the time? Would you vibe with it? Would you dance a little bit with it? Would you have fun with it? Would you like be playing with your friends? Would you be falling asleep to it, waking up to it? Like
Yeah.
I just think that's the best metaphor, because until you're on that vibration, you're continuing on those thoughts, and you're just like always in it, you're not going to memorize that song.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, then you're always going to be on the previous song. So we have to get clear on what that song is first and foremost, and then we just immerse ourselves in that song until we memorize it. And then therefore, after that, then we would go to the next one where we're memorizing the 100K a month song, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I've never heard that metaphor before, but I love that. I'm gonna use that next time.
It's a good one. My friend Marlon and I were talking about that, and we're like, wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, I think this could be a perfect time to transition. As you know, you made a Vision Espresso. It's a product that we've created, and ultimately, it's funny how now we have that metaphor, and it's almost like, well, what is that new song that you want to memorize? And we just help you create that song.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Then
cool.
it's just like what we were talking about is like how are you going to memorize this Vision Espresso? Are you going to listen to it one time a week? Are you going to listen to it one time a day? Or are you going to listen to it 10 times a day?
Yeah, immerse yourself in it. I
Yeah.
would love
So cool. Are you ready to listen to it?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let me pull it up, and then just to give you a quick brief on it, there's here we go. There's an intro, and it's going to ask you, what is your intention for the day, and to speak that out loud. And then what is one thing that you're grateful for? So to speak both of those out loud when it prompts you, and then it'll lead you into 10 breaths, and then it'll fade right into the audio.
I'm doing this here, or I'm doing it when I listen to it normally?
Yeah, you're gonna do it now.
Okay.
Cool.
Perfect.
So yeah, just get comfortable, close your eyes, do whatever you want, and sit back and enjoy your new song.
Now, before I hand you off to your highest self, I have 3 things for you. 1, what is your intention for today? Say it out loud.
To be present.
Good. Number 2, what is one thing you're grateful for right now? Say it out loud.
To be able to come on this podcast right now with Nico and share our love for manifestation.
Awesome. Now 3, I want you to take 10 highly connected, highly conscious breaths.
Hey Maggie, it's me. It's you, the future you. I'm so excited for you to get here, to see who you've become and all you've created. Yeah, the top charting podcast that became an essential voice of empowerment, the Becoming Her program that flourished globally, the financial freedom from surpassing the $1 million mark annually, the profound partnership with the man of your dreams, the philanthropic efforts that improved elderly care, the transformative retreats in picturesque locations, and all the lives you've had a massive impact on, especially your own. Maggie, you're incredible. There's absolutely no one out there like you. And as you continued to listen to that vision audio from Nico is when things really started to shift. Your journey was unfolding more beautifully than you could have ever imagined. Imagine waking up each morning as the dawn breaks, feeling utterly refreshed. Stepping onto your patio in St. Petersburg, you'd savor your coffee, letting the gentle ocean breeze pair perfectly with the warm sun to start your day right. Your mornings became sacred through your yoga sessions, turning into a spiritual sanctuary where you connected deeply with a group of remarkable women. These sessions were more than workouts. They were profound gatherings that enriched your soul and set a vibrant tone for your entire day. And those post-yoga coffee chats, they blossomed into cherished rituals, deepening friendships that were as nourishing as they were inspiring. Professionally, your ambitions soared to heights unimaginable. Your podcast rocketed to the top, becoming an essential voice of empowerment for thousands. Your initiative, the Becoming Her program, flourished into a global beacon of transformation, guiding countless women towards empowerment and self-discovery. Financially, you achieved extraordinary feats. You not only reached, but exceeded the six-figure mark, eventually earning over $1 million annually. You erased all personal debts, freed your parents from their financial worries, and even surprised them with their dream beach house. Your financial acumen enabled a life of abundance, allowing you to make purchases without hesitation and secure a prosperous future. Your health and vitality soared to new heights. Regular walks, yoga, and gym sessions not only sculpted your body, but also elevated your spirit. You conquered every health hurdle you once faced, from gut issues to sciatica, leaving you feeling stronger and more vibrant than ever. In your personal life, your relationship with your husband, the man of your dreams, blossomed into a profound partnership. He was everything you hoped for: supportive, loving, and playful. Your evenings were filled with shared meals, heartfelt conversations, or just relaxing in your beautifully styled home, which became a warm haven for friends and family. Decorated with tasteful touches like blue and white embroidered plates, your home was not just a place, but a vibrant, welcoming community hub. Your philanthropic efforts were heartfelt and impactful. You generously supported assisted living facilities, ensuring better care for the elderly, a cause close to your heart. You also initiated annual retreats in picturesque locations, bringing together women from your program for transformational experiences that fostered deep connections and personal growth. Maggie, I love you. I love who you are. I love who you've always been. And I love who you're constantly becoming. Now get up and make it a great day.
That made me emotional. Oh my gosh, I loved that so much. Honestly, when I was going through it, I didn't know exactly how it was gonna be at the end, because I feel like as I was speaking, I was like, am I stuttering sometimes? Am I doing it right? Because sometimes I'm a perfectionist. But that was so beautiful. I love that so much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for going through that. I was like, it's interesting. The more that we do these, the more that I realize like how blessed I am to like help facilitate that. And now, whenever I listen to them, I'm so inspired by what other people and their vision are. But then I even like put myself in, like I just, even though it's not my voice, I listen to it as if it's like talking to me, and even just like talking about how you're in the most vibrant health that you've ever been. I sit there with myself and think about that. So it's like I just get so immersed in this stuff that I'm just really blessed that I get to listen to these. And yeah, it's just super inspiring to hear what other people's visions are, and
Yeah.
whether the money or the relationships or the health or whatever it is. So yeah, we've been working on this for, a while now. So we're starting to really ramp it up, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. So powerful.
Yeah. Like, what was it? How did you feel? Like, you said you're getting emotional. Like, what were those feelings that were coming over you?
Yeah, well, first of all, when I open my eyes, I feel light. Like, I feel like the way I describe it is I can see brighter, if that makes sense. Like, it just put me in a really good state. And something I noticed, I started to tear up the most and this is not necessarily my focus right now, but when I spoke about the assisted living homes and how I'm able to give back to them. And it encompasses being able to make that kind of money to give back, but that's something that I felt a lot of guilt leaving that industry,
Mm.
and it holds such a it holds such a close place in my heart. I don't know if that's the right wording. I don't know what I'm trying to say with that, but when I heard that come up in the Vision Espresso, I just felt so emotional because I'm like, wow, I actually finally have achieved that. And so that was really powerful to be able to do that. And it also goes to show that, because I told myself I want to be able to do that, but I wasn't in a position to do it at the moment. But that just goes to show that everything that I'm doing within my coaching, within my podcast, and all of everything that I'm doing with my business, that I'm successful enough in that where I'm able to give back. And I don't feel like that money freedom. I feel like I'm able to spend freely and feel abundance still and give it to a good cause. So yeah, I felt really good when that came up. It felt really good to hear, you know, when I mentioned, but the like blue and white embroidered like plates and stuff like that. Like it's so random, but it's been something that has held a lot of importance to me since I was growing up. And so I don't know, just to feel like that was finally my thing, because right now I don't have those things, but I envision it in like when I have my own house and I'm with my husband and like that's our kind of decor. Like it just felt really good. And just to know like in the top whatever 10 or top 10 for my podcast, like that feels so good too. So just to feel the things that I want as if they're already there, it's just a really good feeling. So a lot of emotions were here.
That's so cool. And it's, you know, I think the other interesting point is that they're not here in the physical reality yet, but they have been created.
Mm-hmm.
I just think about that more and more all the time, is that like anytime you have a thought, anytime, like again, coming back to that process of plant the seed, nurture the seed, sprout, it's like as soon as you have that thought, it's created.
Mm-hmm.
So you had that thought. Not only did you have the thought, but you spoke it out with conviction, because that's what you do with our process. Yeah. And now you get to remind yourself to memorize that song. So it's already created in the ether. It's just a matter of when it's the right time to pull it in.
Yes. I always like to say, wait till time catches up.
Yes. It's easy. It's done. Time hasn't caught up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for that. That was beautiful.
Yeah. That was, I love, you know, the other thing I love about it is like when people get so excited about it too.
Yeah.
So that brings me a lot of joy as well, when people are like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah. And I'm glad they do this live and like actually get my first impression of it, because this was like full real first impression. Like, whoa, I can't believe like that's how it came out. It was so cool.
Yeah. And it's fun to do this live. It's interesting. Actually, the gal that I'm having her on my podcast either like next week or the following week, and we got on an introductory call like we did, and she was like, well, why don't we just do an Instagram live instead of doing it on Zoom? And at first I like had resistance. I was like, no, this is the way we do it.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, you know, there's a lot of benefits to it. Oftentimes the quality is better on the video, and then secondly is we get to, you know, get in front of some people, cross-pollinate audiences, and grow together. And I was like, that's a really good point.
And I feel like the energy is just, I mean, we probably would have had great energy just on Zoom, but the energy is better because there's more people here. Like we're all feeling each other's energy, and it's just powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this might be the new standard for the Just Grow podcast, getting on live. So thanks for being the first test subject.
Of course. It's too bad. I wish I have my mic here, but it's connected to my laptop. I don't think I can connect it to my phone, but I'll figure that out for next time.
Is it a USB mic?
Looks like this, but I don't think this goes into the bottom. I don't think it's the same connector.
Well, that's what you have to just get this adapter. I can send it to you, but I had the same thing because I have an iPhone. If you have the same thing,
yeah.
And then you just have to get this adapter, and if it's a USB mic, then you just have to get this adapter and you plug it into your phone.
Oh, cool.
So are you hearing me through my mic?
Oh yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I film all my stuff. I film like everything from my phone, and I just plug this mic into it.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. No, definitely send me the link to that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's start wrapping up. I want to kind of just get some concluding thoughts. One of the things that I love, a great question at the end of these podcasts are, what would you love for people to get from this conversation that we've had?
I would say biggest takeaway from this conversation I think they should really focus in on is that changing of the state. Because I think that a lot of people, like we talked about, they hear manifestation and they think like, oh, it's so woo-woo, and like, okay, but does it actually work? But that it's a lot simpler than you think. And just by changing your state through positivity journaling or meditation or breath work, you can instantly get on a different frequency in order to be able to manifest whatever it is you want, whatever it is that you're desiring. So I think that would be the biggest takeaway is changing your state. The state is the strategy.
Hey, I like that. That's a mic drop.
Mm-hmm.
State is the strategy. And we talk about too, I'm not sure if I share this with you, but we talk about the woo and the do. It's like,
No, you didn't, but I hear that.
yeah, that's our big messaging, what we share in our school community and our coaching programs. Because again, like, I feel like we're always kind of not battling, but again, there's these misnomers in these spaces where people are like, oh, what are all this woo-woo stuff? But it's like, it's combining both. It's not being either or. Because I went to the extremes of both. And I went all hustle, all do, all grind, go, go, go. And I was productive, but I got burnt out. And then that had me swinging all the way back to the other side where I went full woo and I was just meditating all day. And I felt great, but my bank account didn't.
Yeah.
And so it's about finding that balance of where like you're constantly flowing in between the woo and the do. And then having like simple tools and strategies and things that can keep your nervous system aligned. Because that's, I would say, my biggest beef with people that are like, oh, you just gotta hustle, you just gotta go. It's like, okay, how's your nervous system? Like, are you just fried all the time? Are you absolutely exhausted all the time? Because that's eventually going to catch up with you and you're just going to fall over at some point.
Yeah.
And you can feel it with certain people.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They may be making a ton of money. I actually went to this brunch thing a while back, and a friend that's just making coin after coin. And we're having this conversation. And I was asking him some questions around it. It kind of got like a weird conversation after a while because we just aren't aligned. But he was telling me all these things like, you just got to hustle, you just got to go. And like, we're making all this money. I was like, cool. Like, how are you feeling? And I could just see like the bags under his eyes,
Yeah.
just like exhausted. And I'm like, it's cool, man, but like, you can't take it with you. And so it's like, not to say making money is bad by any means. I love money and I love making lots of money, right? But I also like feeling really good. I know when I'm feeling better, that's when I actually like feel good about making money, because money is just energy and money is just an exchange of value. And so it's like, how do you feel good and make money? How do you feel good and hustle and go?
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's, you find the balance of what's good for you. Like, some people, especially more women on the feminine side, they just allow more things. I think on the masculine side, it's more of a combination of being having the nervous system regulated, but also being more in a hustle mode. So it just depends on like what is your MO, because everyone's different.
Oh yeah. And just coming back to something you said earlier in our live, you mentioned something about creating the space. Like, I don't have the space. I have to detach from this. I don't have the space to attract more things in right now. But it also has to do with your nervous system. If your nervous system is so like amped up and not calm, you have to create space first within your nervous system in order to actually allow things to flow and be easy and feel good. And until you make that space, it's not going to feel good and it's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to come
and I think
wondering why things aren't working out.
Exactly. And then I think that's also a good point to talk about how, like, coming back to the energetic blocks. Like, that's how you start building energetic blocks. And maybe you are making a bunch of money and things are going great, but eventually those cards are going to fall over. Mm-hmm. And then you have no idea, and like you're feeling terrible, and then you're in all this anxiety and depression. It's just because like everything was building and building and building until it just crumbled, right? And then it's like some real energetic work from there. That's when you need to go to a retreat in Colombia to clear everything out.
Right?
So what if we could just do some maintenance day in and day out that keeps the wheels clean and keeps things turning, and then you don't have to have these big fallovers. And I had to learn this, right? Because case in point, right, first one is like I had to go. I had so much stuff built up over the years that I had to go, go to retreats and do ayahuasca and all these things that like cleaned me out so that I could get back to this place. So I think that's why, like, it just depends on which route you want to go. If you want if you want to go the route that's really painful, like, sure, go that route. Follow my footsteps. But
Yeah.
if you want to have it a little bit more easy, I recommend like finding that dance between the woo and the do.
Definitely. I love that. The woo and the do. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, cool. Usually I ask people like where can they find you, but obviously they just have to tap on your
Oh yeah,
profile.
true. Well,
Well,
for those of you who are listening to the podcast
yeah,
version,
yeah.
so my Instagram is maggie.mae.coaching, May with an E. And other than that, like I have a program also, the program that I actually spoke about in my Vision Espresso. Right now, it's called Cultivating Confidence. And I am a confidence coach, but recently I've been leaning more into becoming your highest self and manifestation. And it still involves confidence, but I've just been able to kind of fine tune it to make it feel more aligned to me. So that program is going to be coming out soon, and that is called Becoming Her. So I'm going to actually be having a wait list coming up soon to be able to get into that. So if you're interested in getting on that wait list, just send me a DM. And yeah, I can't wait to hear from you guys. And thank you so much again for having me on this podcast and live.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, go check her stuff out. I love that you're transitioning from the confidence to the more just like becoming your highest self. I think just from like how I feel about that, I feel like there's a lot more like power within that. From my perspective, is just like becoming her. I think that's like really smart move, and I'm excited to see where that goes for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Any last words?
No, I think that's it. This has been an awesome conversation.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's jump back on Zoom just for a couple minutes. But again, thanks for being on the podcast. Really appreciate you. And thanks everyone for watching.